Do you guys remember the other day when I did that stream where like I talked about like my goals for the channels in the year and stuff like that? I got a comment that like has been stuck in my head ever since I got it. And they asked if I wanted to do like reaction content to like regionals and other things like that. And what I said was I don't really like doing reaction content because I don't think that like you should really be only getting your content from like other content creators or like the official stream, because like it's warping your own thoughts on like how to approach matchups by giving you answers that you would not have come to your own way. And I didn't do a really good job of like explaining how that's good or bad or how that works. You guys remember that? Do you guys know what I'm talking about here? We're probably gonna talk about this for like 10 minutes, so I had to let that battery charge. Long story short, I said, instead of watching regionals or like watching review streams or watching like what other YouTubers, even myself, like don't just listen to me, like please watch me and like think that you could beat the shit out of me in a game of Pokemon, because you probably can, especially if you know my tendencies, right? Don't put your content creators on a pedestal, because everyone is human, unless you're like Wolf Glick. He's like super cracked for no reason. Anyways, going back to what I was talking about. When you watch the regional stream, what you're getting is the answers in the back of the book. You're getting the spoon-fed answers to specific matchups and a bloated sense of how popular things are for a region which you're probably not playing in, and the storylines given by like the casters and things. And that's their job. That's how it works. And what I said when I was talking about the why I don't think that's good is I say I actually really like to not watch the regional streams and then just go on the ladder. And if I fight the team that won, or like the team that Wolf used or something like that, I really like to see if I can solve it first and see how I would handle it given the tools that I have as a person and that I've collected. Like, how would I solve my way out of this without knowing what it's supposed to be doing? I use it as kind of like a skill check to see like, am I actually playing the game correctly? Because anyone can win if they know what the trick is, or what it's supposed to be doing, or any sets or any things like that. Or even if like, even knowing that team won a regional, you're going to put it on a slightly higher pedestal than one that like you're just randomly playing in like the 13 or 1400s. And so I was watching a video on YouTube the other day while I was eating my lunch, and it was talking about how like record players are coming back in popularity. They have been for a while. I have a record player. I listen to a lot of my music on my record player. I have a record collection, and how I really like my record collection. I think it sounds better. I think I look forward to getting a new record, even if it's something I have on Spotify or on CD already, just because I like it. And one of the things that has attracted me to specific albums is like going and seeing the album cover. Like that's how I learn what new bands are. I will like I'll go to like a store and look up all the album covers and things like that. And that's how I find new music. A lot of the websites that you use today are all run by algorithms, because the whole point of these websites is to get you to buy things and get you to see advertisements. So, and Spotify is no different. Like when you go to Spotify, you get the music that Spotify tells you want to listen to based off of other music. If you notice on Spotify how like you could have like thousands of songs saved, but if you just put it on shuffle, it's going to play the same 40 songs. Or if you want to go to like new music in like the same genre, it's a bunch of music that you probably will like if you like these other bands, but you don't really get to pick it, right? You can go find stuff if you want, but it's harder to find things. It's say like, you could find things, but how about you look through these like 300 other songs that we think you might like first? And so the video was saying that people that are in the new generation are kind of just losing a sense of identity, because like, how can you be like unique and special and like different when every single person is getting like the same algorithm, right? And that's something we've lost in terms of like going to the record store, or going to like the example the video used was like movie rentals. You know, you used to go to like Hollywood Video or Blockbuster and you used to walk all the way up all the aisles and see all the movies. And the way that you picked a movie was by looking at the cover and thinking you might like it. You picked it, you touched it, you know, you chose this one. It wasn't something that was chose for you based off your other recommended things. And so that's how those little things over and over and over again, Pokemon's the same way, building your own style is like really, really important. Building your own personality, not using the same one that's tailored for like the algorithm, right? And so I say this a lot, is how if you're someone who plays Pokemon and you have a play style, you should really not try and just become like everyone else and say like, oh, I'm just going to be like, I saw Joe use this team, I'm going to use that. You're going to be a bargain bin Joe. It's not going to work, right? He agrees so hard, right? It makes complete sense, right? And so that's why I don't really like watching the regional streams. You don't need to listen to the regional streams or watch the regional stream, which is why you don't see me do the reaction content for the regionals, because I think that it's like you're getting, whether it be the regional stream take or another YouTuber's take or my take, that's how I see the meta. And if you're someone who can just play the game normally outside of that and like solve the problems with the tools, with what you have, with your own playstyle, like that's how you grow and become an individual player that actually has the tools needed to get better. Versus like, if you just watch the regional stream and you're like, Wolf said how to beat this. Like, okay, so what's gonna happen when like Wolf doesn't tell you how to beat something? You just lose. You don't know how to do it. Like, I feel that like I didn't mention that the other day, to where like people didn't understand why I think that like you shouldn't be listening to YouTubers, but I'm a YouTuber at the same time. Like, that's why I try and make content that I think is helpful. That's why when I do like my team building videos where I'm team fixing, I try to play the team as intended so you can see how they said the team should be played. And then I say what I think we should do. Then we play games as they intended, and I interject the things that I think would improve it. And then we improve it to what I think it should be, and then we move it back. And so you get to see every option that like could have happened there, instead of just being like, that's suboptimal, like this mon's bad. I think that's another really big thing that like a lot of like online communities have, is like they're like, oh, that, like for example, like Smash Brothers, they're like, oh, this character's bad, I don't care about the matchup, which isn't like true. You should try and find good in almost everything. Do you think it's possible to still be a good player even if you won't fully understand or memorize the nuances of the mechanics, the matchups calcs? I think I see the team preview a lot different than other people, probably not in the most skilled way. Well, all right, so there's, that's a good question. Yes, I do think that it's possible to do that. But all right, so I think people think that you have to be like big brain, over 9,000 level IQ to play this game, and you don't. What you need to do, right? That's super normal to feel like imposter, stuff like that, because like VGC, I would really recommend you playing some singles if that's how you feel, because like VGC is the only game where this happens, right? You do something correctly, and the way that you lose is like by them deliberately seeing what you're doing, seeing that you're good, and saying like, they're not going to expect me to be bad. And so they do something that's like not correct. That doesn't work in other games. Like if you're playing a shooter, the right play would never be to go over here and shoot if the opponent's over there. If you're playing chess, you don't open up with the bomb cloud, right? Like that's counterintuitive. VGC is like the only game where that is like. And that's why VGC can't really be like an esport, I think, is because like you can just be like herp derp, don't care, right? You know, like all in, like, you know what I mean? Like, and I would say that you don't need to win every game. You need to give yourself the right amount of situations that you can to win as many games as you can, which is hard, but you can't win every game. Like Wolf doesn't win every game. So I'm not that surprised. Running as many singles as I have in the last year, and knowing calcs and speed tiers in your head and having a general idea will win you twice as many games. See, that's the thing. Is like I think is anytime you're winning like 60 to 70% of your games, you're doing things right. But yeah, like I think it's a weird situation. It's super natural to feel like an imposter. Like so, for example, if you go back and watch the first game that we played on stream today, the very first game that we played on stream, I'll run it down turn by turn. Or just for the first turn, because it's actually pretty important, right? I led with Whimsicott and Lunala, right? I led Whimsicott, Lunala, and they led with Fire Ogerpon for Farigiraf. Whimsicott, Lunala versus Fire Pond for Farigiraf, right? So, the play that they did was they Ivy Cudgeled my Lunala to break my Shadow Shield, and they Trick Roomed. And we conditioned that play by leading with something that would say, hey, I'm on a Tailwind. You want a Trick Room. I'm trying to enable your Iron Hands. Like, you're like, this guy's thinking like, he's good at Tailwind, so I can use the Trick Room. Remember, it's a lot easier to condition people into doing something if what they think they're doing is the right play. Obviously, by them not showing hands at the start or them around at the start, you know that they have them around hands in the back. So I realized that was their board state. I realized they were in a trick room, and I pivoted out for my ogre pawn because it was a free pivot, and I went for a Calm Mind, and I soaked the Ivy Cudgel in my Shadow Shield. I let them trick room, but now both my mons underspeed their fire pawn, and I just win the game, right? Now you could say, yeah, you did a good play. That's good. Like, you're doing things right. Well, what they could have done is they could have just went Ivy Cudgel, foul play my Lunala, and I lose the game. That would lose in every other situation, right? If I went Tailwind, that loses. If I went Terra, that loses. If I did like 80 other different things, that loses. But the thing that, like, you have to play with the confidence and like know that the play that I made checks like 90% of what they're doing. But they could just go and make the bad play and win the game. Now, does that make me bad, or does that make the play that I made bad? No, it doesn't. Like, and so the idea is to play enough games to where you're getting high enough on the ladder or in your tournament to where people that have that mentality of just like, I don't care, fuck it, like we ball, you don't play those people. That's the idea. You keep those people as far away from you as possible. Like, that's the idea. You want to play better players that aren't just going to Hail Mary every single down like that. And you want to play players that react to your conditioning. Does that make sense? Right? So you don't feel bad when like that doesn't work. You just like, all right, for example, like let's say that didn't work, and I wanted to be like, why didn't that work? The two answers would be they're too low IQ for that bluff to work, because again, we're conditioning them to over-respect the tailwind and then pivot out. Or they made a read and they are really good. Neither of those make my play bad, right? That's still the right play in the right situation. And so you just have to be okay with taking L's. And you could even think, like, if you want to go even one step further, you can think, okay, this didn't work. How could I make it work? What could I do? I could have went Terra Lunala and had all my bases covered, right? I could have maybe telegraphed it a little bit more. Maybe I could have went Protect Lunala, Moonblast, and then all that sort of play, which could have done, like, I could have telegraphed it a little bit better. You could say don't play with low IQ people. I think it actually is really still important to play with low IQ people because you need to know how to beat them first. So that's why you always see me start from like fresh accounts and go up instead of just playing against high level people. Because like if you can't condition low level players, you can't condition high level players, right? Same thing with like sales, right? If you have like a sales job, if you can't sell things to like random people, you're not going to be able to sell things to the masses either, because you never know who you're playing. But that's just some of my thoughts on some of that stuff. But I wouldn't take any L's as like personally in this game. It's risk versus reward game riddled with RNG and unpredictability of human nature. One thing that I struggle with a lot, right? Maybe you guys don't struggle with this, but like maybe you can see how this affects people that are in my position, is I get a lot of people that see when they play against me, they're like, oh shit, that's that YouTuber that makes the meme content. I have to cheese him before he cheese me. Or they put me on like the pedestal with like Wolf and Zhang and James Beck, where they're like, oh shit, I gotta Hail Mary every single turn. I gotta make a deep read. And then they don't play correctly. Like I trigger that fight or flight syndrome way too prematurely. Like you ever play someone's way better than you? You're like, okay, I gotta steal this one. I gotta make a deep read. I gotta play for crits. I gotta go for rocks. Like there was a time in like 2019 where like every opponent I played would just like lead double rock slide against me. And it's like, why are you trying to double flinch in a matchup where you could just be normal, right? Why can't you be normal, right? And you definitely get that when people feel like inferior, they try and steal the game. But yeah, so it's like, I get a lot of situations where like, that's why I like playing in person, right? Not just because I can talk to people and like I can get them to realize that like, you don't need to put me on a pedestal, we can just play the game. But like, for those people that like, you can read, it's easier to read body language in person than you might think. And there are a lot of tools that you can use to not show your body language. I don't know if you know who Ashton Cox is, one of like the best players of all time. He still to this day plays with like a bandana on a lot of the time, so he doesn't have to give his tells on how he's reacting to things. Like when you see me play at like regionals, I wear a mask a lot of the time, not just because I don't want to get sick, but because I don't want to give my tells. People like to take it. This happens more than any other format in restrictive formats. They like to like attach themselves to a restricted. And so if you're someone that doesn't like that restricted, or that restricted's good or bad, they take that as like a personal attack, as like you're saying they're bad. And then that makes people start arguing, and reason is thrown out the window. So for example, if you're like, if you're like, oh, Reshiram shit, like you've now pissed off like all the Reshiram people, and like reasoning with them will not work. Even if the reason that you're trying to tell them is like, Reshiram's usable. No, they want Reshiram to be like the king, and they will not see reason, right? I'm just using Reshiram because that's what we're hovering on here. But that happens, I think recently, like, I got thrown under the bus for saying Mewtwo wasn't absolute trash because other content creators said that it was. And, like, in reality, those content creators didn't want to do the work to try and make Mewtwo work because it's not as optimal as some other things. But then to say it's trash is incorrect. And so, like, that's why I say you shouldn't listen to every list that comes out, especially if they're not even open to discussion on how viable something could be. I think Koraidon's still like an A tier mon. I mentioned it. I think it's very similar to like Kyogre and Groudon, but it's really so like Groudon. The cool thing about Groudon, as opposed to Koraidon, we were talking about this a little bit earlier. If I have Groudon and you change the weather on me, I'm still Groudon, right? Like, sun is a benefit. It's not a requirement. It's a privilege, right? Koraidon, you turn that sun off, he's the wettest noodle in the world, right? Tier list got to be the biggest trap in VGC. I agree, right? That's why in my tier list, I basically said there's like 5 good things, and then everything else is also really good, but it's not as good as these 5. And then you have the ones that like aren't fully evolved, like base form Calyrex. So I think that tier list content, like I know Justin Tang was rating, like he made a joke on Twitter the other day saying like he's going to make a tier list rating other people's tier lists as like a joke. And I thought that was funny. And then I was like, wait, that's like, I don't like this, right? Because like everyone's just going to put my tier list at the bottom because I put Mewtwo in the B tier. And I'm like, that's stupid because like my tier list, the A and S tier are objectively correct. It's been proven. Like Terrapagos has won the 2 VRs. Kyogre's coming back up in viability. Like we just fought like 5 Kyogres today, and I have that in my A tier, right? Like my tier, the only part of the tier list that matters, which is the A and S tier, were correct. And I was the first person to do it. I think you could realistically make like almost any restricted work. In open sheet, in closed sheet. It really depends on how you want to handle these things. But at the end of the day, there isn't like you have to do XYZ thing or just lose. You just have to work harder with other things, and people refuse to acknowledge that they have to work hard. If it's not easy, people aren't going to do it. So that means that there's like a huge market for people that want to make the harder things work. There's a huge market for that. Case in point, like let's say you're going to a regional. Let's say you're going to like your first regional. You can try this at a local. You can try this in an online tour. But like if you're rolling up with Mewtwo, like they don't have that matchup experience. You can find the positives and the net good things about running Mewtwo that no one has that matchup experience. Can I find any YouTube videos of you playing at a championship? There are, yeah, if you type in THATSAplusONE regionals, I think, so a lot of the matches from me playing at regionals are just gone. Different people used to host them. They didn't used to be hosted by the Pokemon company. So like 2017, top 16, there's videos of me. There's 2015, there's 3 or 4. There's a 2013 one. There's 1 or 2 others in 2017. I think that I have a tournament run of 2017 where I fought people like Zhang, Cams, bunch of other people like that. And then there's also another one where I fight Rafael Bagara on stream in Portland. So they're up there. How many times have I competed in regionals or in worlds? I've only been to worlds twice. But I've been in I have a video. Actually, this is a really cool video. It's an old video, but it's on YouTube. It says like how to get like CP from like every regional. And it went down and like listed every event I'd ever gone to. I made it in probably like 2018 or 2019. But it listed how you can get points from like, if you want to build correctly, you can get points from anything by just doing the bare minimum. I've played on stream before. It's one of those things that like, it's a cool kids club. All right, so like you don't get to go. You can go undefeated in an event and not get put on stream, right? Undefeated in like day 1 of Swiss and not get put on stream. The casters and the other, there's like politics and cool kids clubs and things like that. So like you can be undefeated or doing whatever in like your hometown regional and not be put on the stream, just because like there's a lot of other factors, like there's other popular people and there's storylines that the casters and people need to build that they can better facilitate than just putting some guy that has like a cool mon on the stream, right? Like, so TPCI would never really get anything of putting me on the stream, right? Let's look at it objectively. If I'm someone that's going to pay my own money to go to a regional and then compete in the regional, do well or don't do well, I'm now giving the Pokemon company free advertisement saying I'm prepping for this regional. Here's my team. I'm making tweets, tag and play Pokemon. I'm doing all the things because that's beneficial for me, right? But they don't need to reciprocate any of that back. What they actually need to focus on is putting the people on the stream to build the storylines, the restricteds that they want featured, to sell the merch, do all the other things like that. And if I'm not someone that fits their bill, they don't, it's a privilege. It's not like something that like I get to do because I want to. I have no control over that. So, you know, as far as like being on the stream, I play better on stream. I still play on stream when I play at my locals. So on my locals, they kind of they got to put me on stream eventually because I usually end up, you know, I've won a bunch of them. Not usually, but like, you know, if I'm the undefeated in Swiss and then I win my first round of top cut and I'm in the finals, you got to put me on the stream, bro. And my locals are cool. NorCal's really awesome. So there's not as much like politics involved there. It's not up to you, like, you know, and Diamond's someone who's like, he's on like a back-to-back day 2 stream. He's made top 32 at like multiple events. He's like the best player in his region. He's the captain of his USPA team. And like, if he can't get on stream using a niche restricted and he always does well, like, you got to think like, why is it that the same people are on stream every regional? And that's because like Pokemon is like a storyline, you know. It's cool that all the same people like do well, but like there are like people that they like, for example, I think, let's see, there are people that like make deep day 2 runs in like every event that just aren't on stream. Durance is another player that like always makes day 2. I don't think I've ever seen them on stream. Right? Why wouldn't you put that guy on stream? He's literally at every regional making day 2. How are you not on stream? You know? Everett is another player. I think they've been on stream maybe once. They make day 2 every single event, you know? And so there's a lot of players that like, I think Pengy's another one. He gets on stream every like 3rd or 4th event, but like Pengy should be on stream like almost every time. Do you mean on stream at playing or on stream for an interview? No, on stream playing, and if you win, you get to do the interview. But yeah, I think like there are players that like always make day 2, that are always in the running and the winning, and like not, you're just gonna see Wolf every time. Like another one's like Riley. Like Riley's on stream like most events, but like why isn't Riley on stream like every event? You know, if he's always there, you know. There was actually a time when like I used to get put on stream a lot. There was like a time from the end of 2014 through 2017, I think I got on stream at, I got on stream at every single event that I went to from the end of 2014 to 2017. I got on except for one. I didn't get on stream in one of them in 2017. I got 2014 Pleasant Hill, I was on stream. 2015 Lancaster, I was on stream. 2015 San Jose, I was on stream. 2016, I didn't get on stream. Sorry, I didn't get on stream Arizona 2016. I didn't get on stream SoCal 2016. But then in 2017, I got on stream at San Jose and Anaheim. No, San Jose and Portland, not Anaheim, right? So, like, I got on stream a lot, right? And that's because, like, I was using, like, different anti-meta tech. I went to a lot of streams that were more near my local area, so I was, like, a local person that was doing really well with those streams using niche mons, which means I fit, like, the up-and-coming player. Like, this is the new sauce, right? And also, like, I did get pulled up. Like, in one of those games, I was up against, like, former world champion, games against... Enosh, former like NAIC, I think you either 1st or 2nd place. Like, so I'm getting pulled up by the other players as well. And then there are the games where like I'm the last undefeated player in the tournament that I get put on the stream for. But nowadays, like I went in after that 2017 and after a bunch of other events that happened, I really went into a slump where I realized like the things that I've done to get on stream were be like a newer player, not newer, sorry, I shouldn't even say that, like a player that is producing surprising results with anti-meta Pokemon. And so like I've gotten to a funk in like starting in 2019 into like 2020, even going into like now. I think I broke myself out of it for the most part at 2023 Milwaukee, where I realized that like I could have the fucking coolest anti-meta team and be like 4-0 and not get put on stream. I think that's when I realized it was 2023 Milwaukee, where you realize like there's no chance of getting on stream if they don't want you. My team in that tournament was, I don't remember if it was double restricted. It might have been. It was 2023 Milwaukee. I know Diamond was there. I had Focus Sash, Mirror Coat, Gothitelle, Clefairy, Duskmane, and I was undefeated. And I had like 2 or 3 chances to get on stream, and they didn't put me on. And I realized like I'm not gonna get pulled up. You know, they're not gonna put me on stream. I could have the craziest, weirdest team I've ever wanted, and it's just not gonna work. I started my last 2 reg 5-0, and I still didn't get pulled up for stream. One of which was Baltimore against Joe. I'm glad I didn't get streamed because he had the counter team. Well, there you go, right? But like that's another thing. It's like you understand as someone who's like in the play, like you don't get to go on stream just because you want to, or even if you don't want to. Like it's not up to you. It's the storylines that they're going to build. So, for example, like you not going up against Joe, they're saving Joe for some other thing. You know, it's really. It sucks that like the people don't get to choose as much, because you can say like, oh, well, sometimes there's a vote to see people pick, but it's like that's a vote that's pulled from the teams that TPCI chooses to vote on. It's just, it is just marketing, because like, for example, do you know that like Pokemon does like way better in terms of like competitive scene and marketing and like social media presence every time Wolf wins? That's not a surprise, you know? Can you say no to being on stream? Yes and no. They're really going to try and strong arm you if they want you to be in. Some people really, really don't like being on stream, and you can say no. You can be like, I refuse to play. I won't play. I'll run. I'll you'll get disqualified, I think. Colin said no, and that would be a game 1 loss. There you go. See, like that's the thing. Like Diamond says, yeah. So you can say no to being on stream, because like being on stream means you have to show a lot of your spread. So if you're the person that's the challenger, you would just show all your HP stats, right? If you ever go into your menus and stuff, like they can see all your EVs if people are watching the stream and like take a picture or write it down. So people can know all your spreads if you have to play on stream. And that's how it used to be back in the day. Back in the day, what people used to do, this is a crazy, you want a history lesson? So gotta meet up with you at attorney sometime. Eventually, right? But back in the day, what people used to do is you had your 3DS, right? Players like Geo and James Beck and Zhang did this. Actually, I think I shouldn't say Zhang. I know Geo did though, right? So you had your DS, right? Your 3DS. So what people did is when you had to play with this console, right? There were a lot of players that hated playing on stream because you had to show your HP totals, you had to show your EVs, you had to show a lot of your like tech being on the stream. And so people played with the download copy of the game, not the actual cartridge. So when you had to play on stream, you had to be the opponent, which means you shouldn't show your stuff, because the Stream DS was a Stream DS. It was like a capture card into the system, and they couldn't make you play. And also, if they chose 2 people that also had the download content game, they couldn't be on the stream.
That's right.
Right? Dapper, thank you for the follow. You appreciate it. We're talking a little bit of like war for VGC stuff right now. But yeah, that's how people used to go through crazy lengths to not play on stream.